Hello there, I'm Aoife Wilson, Senior Communications Developer at Larian Studios, and are you the target of my guiding bolt? Because I critically missed you. Yes, indeed. So we have a slightly different format this week. If the everything about all of the links that sent you to this stream right now didn't give it away already. So we had so much fun with all of our guests these last couple of weeks, chatting and playing BG3 at the same time. But there was just too much good stuff with all of our guests and we just weren't getting far enough in the game either, to be honest. So we're trying something new, and we have a very special guest this week, and we're just going to chat. We're going to have a lovely time. And we're going to open the floor to all of you for questions at the end of the stream. So do keep them coming in. We will be keeping a very formal document of all of the questions that we will bring up at the end. So keep your questions coming throughout the stream, and we will be pulling them. There will be an exam at the end.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
It's
not that scary.
I thought it was going to be easy because we're not playing and I can't talk at the same time. I can't do two things at once.
I know. But like, I am the world's worst multitasker, and even I managed to do it somewhat. I will not lie. There were some TPKs, but well, I mean, who doesn't struggle with interviewing people and playing a really fun game at the same time? Greg. Hello. How are you?
Good. Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We're really excited to talk to you. Can you please tell the lovely people at home your name and what you do here at Larian?
Sure. So my name is Greg Lidstone. I am the head of the animation department. Mm-hmm. So I manage a couple of different departments that fall under that. So it's the gameplay animation team, the cinematic animation team, the technical animation team, and the performance capture and VO department as well. But that is a relatively new job for me. Like only the last year and a half have I been in this position. But on BG3, I worked as the lead performance director in this location, recording all of the Mocap and working closely with the our VO team and trying to bring all that together. Yes,
and we're going to be talking to you a bit about that later. And you did bring some very fun little bits, behind the scenes videos, and some little extra things that we can show off later. However, before we get then to that, we want to hear like how you ended up where you are. Like, what was your journey through the industry? I mean, I guess the first question is, did you always want to work in games?
Oh God, the right answer is yes, but I did not.
There's no right answer. It's just your journey, right?
So what's interesting is whenever I do interviews with people who are applying for jobs, this is actually one of the questions that I ask, because I find it really fascinating how people end up in video games, especially early on, because, you know, when I was going to school, video games, I mean, obviously they existed, but it wasn't really a career path that a lot of people were sort of moving towards. So a lot of people kind of fall into this accidentally, and I definitely fall into that group. So I went to school to be a biochemist.
That was not the job title I thought was
right
going to come here. Like, what?
However, I was very bad at it. I didn't enjoy it, and it didn't hit any of the passions.
Biochemistry.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I liked biology. I liked chemistry. I thought if I brought these two together and did that at university, I would be fine. It turns out it's super hard. A very, very difficult thing to do. But I also really enjoyed animated movies. I enjoyed video games. I enjoyed movies in general. I loved drawing my entire life. So I kind of combined all that and thought, I should be an animator. Let's go do that. So I applied to a couple of animation schools, and I got into a really lovely school called Sheridan, which did classical animation, so a lot of the hand-drawn stuff. Wow. And it was fantastic, and I graduated, and that same year they released the first Toy Story. And so that destroyed the industry, because everyone suddenly was like, computers,
holy shit.
We're going to do that. You know, like, hand-drawn is completely done. So I started upgrading and trying to learn a little bit more about computers.
That's wild. Because I actually, funnily enough, I watched the original Toy Story fairly recently. Like, I'm talking like maybe in the last week or so. And you know that it's the same with the games that you played years ago, right? Where you're like, oh, that's not what I had in my head. That things have changed since then. It's wild. But I think at the time it was obviously groundbreaking, right? Like, There's nothing else like it.
Absolutely was. Like, I mean, it immediately made Pixar the destination for anybody in that industry. Like anyone who was graduating, even from hand-drawn, we just immediately wanted to do that because it was mind-blowing at the time. Like it was, nobody had ever done a story to that quality using, 3D generation or 3D animation, and it was absolutely amazing.
What were some of the 2D animations that inspired you, though, before that?
So I was heavily into like the old school Disney, so like Aladdin and Lion King and all these kind
Golden
of
Age stuff.
These things that just sort of shaped me when I was growing up and telling these amazing stories. So that happened. Toy Story happened, and that sort of changed the direction of my career. Now I ended up doing some television work and doing cartoons and stuff like that in the industry back in Canada, and then what you would find is that you would do a lot of freelance work. And you would work really, really hard for about 6 months, and then you'd have 6 months where there's just nothing available and you were sort of surviving. And I decided I didn't want to do that. And I had a friend who was working in video games, and it was at that time much more consistent.
Right.
And he said, like, I had directed some television shows and stuff, and he said, well, we're going to be bringing in a cinematic director. Would you be interested in kind of applying for that work? And I really had never done very much with computers, so it's a very different world than it is now, where you can actually get sort of like I'm going to learn as I get paid to do this kind of stuff. So I was very, very lucky. I ended up getting into that studio, and I stayed there for 7 years. And I worked on the first game I worked on was Mass Effect. And then
that's wild. The very
first
first game.
As far as first jobs in the industry goes, it is a lovely job with an incredibly talented team. And then I stuck around and did Dragon Age, and then back to Mass Effect 2, and then Dragon Age 2, and then Mass Effect 3, and then I decided to go and
just
move
absolutely casually throwing in some classics of the entire games industry there.
But the interesting thing when you're working on these games that people look back, and it does hurt me slightly when people refer to them as like amazing retro games or like old school games.
Oh no, we're not ready to call them retro yet.
Oh God, it hurts so much. You don't know it when you're doing it. You're doing the best you possibly can. You think it's working, and but you're a little too close, to the forest to really see anything.
So at the time, so you said you didn't have a lot of experience with computers and stuff, but like, how much of it was sort of learning as you go and a trial by fire and stuff like that?
It was very, very trial by fire. I remember early on in my career messaging my friend who had sort of recommended me for the job, like, you need to come to my desk and you need to help me. And I was like the cold sweat of like realizing I was in over my head at that point in the first week and not really knowing how to work any of the stuff that was very different than the industry I'd been working into previously. But.
Well, I was going to say, like, how was it going from one industry to the other? I mean, how I guess welcoming / invigorating was coming into the games industry at that time?
Oh, it was absolutely unbelievable. Also, the people at Bioware were very welcoming in that they knew that I was coming from a different place, and they welcomed that different impression of how things should work, right? And luckily, like a lot of the stuff that I was doing when I first got there was a lot of like storyboarding and putting together animatics and stuff, and that's stuff that I had been doing for years. So at least I was able to work on those kind of things.
Was that physical, or was that also all software based?
I mean, the storyboards I was drawing in Photoshop and putting things together like in a timeline. So it was all on computer and stuff. I had progressed past, just drawing on notepads.
I don't know, like there's still something quite nice and tactile about, like, if you might plan stuff out, I guess, like with.
It's, what, to be absolutely honest, there were some things that I would just, thumbnail out and just on like sticky notes and just sticky note. You're just putting things up all over the place. So that's actually really nice. And I still do stuff like that, like when I'm trying to figure out how to approach something, you just draw it on a sticky note because they're crumpable and you can throw them away and it doesn't upset anybody, and you can just keep replacing them and putting the next one.
It's all about iteration, and
exactly.
we're definitely about iteration here for sure. Any favorite Mass Effect characters that you worked on?
Honestly, it's been so long that I just...
Because I'm a Garrus girl, I have to say, like
Yeah.
through and through.
Yeah, I mean...
Just give me those mandibles, you know.
Yeah, there's something amazing about that. But it's, I mean, it all starts to kind of blend into together, which just means I have to go back and I just have to play like, you know, the updated version and just kind of go through it. Because people will come over and talk to me about it and I'll be like, I don't, it was a while ago. I'm sorry. I want to remember exactly
So
what
much has
happened.
happened since then. Well, talking about so much has happened. So you decided to move on, and was the next place Larian that you moved to?
No.
No?
I worked in Canada. I stayed in Canada for a while. I worked on a couple of games out there. And then at some point, my wife and I decided we wanted to move to Europe. So I ended up working at Ubisoft for a while.
Yeah.
And then I was in Sweden, so at Ubisoft Massive. Really lovely studio, really lovely people. And it was during COVID, which is amazing. Like, because Sweden, like, weathered COVID amazingly.
Yes. Yeah.
They kind of knew how to keep distance. So there was
Good
really
place to be.
there was no effect to my life like
Really?
within the country it felt very smooth and like so I hear horror stories from other people and I'm like, I weathered that in Sweden and
Right place, right time.
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then Larian had posted an opening and I was familiar with the games and I knew the kind of stories that they would tell and I kind of wanted to get back more into that kind of storytelling. And so I applied for a job as a cinematic animator, just because I wanted to get back into animating. And I interviewed for that job. And then around the second interview, they came to me and said, we also are looking for a lead. Would you be interested in maybe looking for a lead cinematic position? And I said, okay, yeah, that sounds great. It's a great team. I'd love to work with them in that capacity. And then I started interviewing for that. And then they came back to me and said, actually, we're also looking to set up our own Mocap studio. And I know you've done Mocap.
Just snowballing.
And you've done performance direction in the past. Would you be interested in sort of heading up that team and kind of building up that location and getting things going for that? And I said, yes, I would also like to do that.
Yes, I will do this. Thank you
I'm
so
willing
much.
to do anything to work at this studio. So it was lovely. During the interview process, I got moved twice to different jobs.
Bumped up. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So then we finally settled on that one, and then I relocated me and my whole family here.
I've just looked at our thing here, and it says Greg worked on a version of Watership Down, which I love as a fact.
I did work on.
Was that traumatic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a children's version of Watership Down, which
How does that work?
I don't think it did.
They all went to live in a farm upstate, and that's the end of that story.
It was really beautifully drawn. It was a lovely animation.
Yeah.
But it had this undercurrent of just danger all the time.
Dread.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben also adds that I was 16 when Mass Effect came out.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, buddy.
VJ Amalia says, calling them retro hurts me in my knees.
Yep.
And the mem says, biochemistry, the basics for becoming an animator. Yeah, of course. There's no question about that.
It's interesting, like when you talk to people and you find out what their path is.
Yes. It's
amazing. Like I know architects who now work in video games. I knew like a leather crafter who like became a writer in video games. They come from everywhere, like back in the day.
It's funny, I find that as well, 100%. Some of my really good friends, like I know bioengineers, all sorts. Like, so when people ask how, what degree should I do, this, that, and the other, I'm like, you really don't have to come from that background because so many people have found their paths through so many different ways. Like there are just as many pathways into the industry as there are people working in it, honestly. Burning with 23 says, hi Greg, I just wanted to say a huge thanks to you and the team for the amazing work on Baldur's Gate 3. The performances, emotional and physical, are outstanding. Everything feels so alive and really brings the story and characters to life.
That is lovely.
That is nice.
That is lovely.
But so you said when they came to you and said, performance direction, you said you'd worked in performance direction before, but how did you kind of end up doing that? Did you have an interest in doing performance direction?
Again, with my career, I just kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
When I was working at Bioware, obviously we were using Mocap for a lot of our stuff, so then you just kind of got shipped away to go record at one of the Mocap studios.
Yeah.
And then you kind of learn on the job and make a ton of mistakes, and then try to adapt to become better, and kind of learn, and then watch other performance directors or other, animators who are directing and sort of steal their ideas and see like, oh, they were able to get a great relationship with that actor by doing these kind of things, and just being honest with them, and then I just stole as many good ideas as I could, and then put them in my knapsack of good ideas, and then hopefully that resulted in some good scenes.
Yeah, because I mean, was there much of an overlap, or was it two kind of completely different skill sets that you had to learn? Because you wouldn't automatically think performance direction and animation go hand in hand, but I guess with games, it's all part of the flow of the workflow, like where one starts and the other sort of begins as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of animators are really close to being actors.
Really?
And they just find another way to express themselves.
Okay.
Some of the best animators I know are people who do voices and like do acting workshops on the weekend and stuff like that. Most animators, if they're going to be hand keying stuff, they are recording themselves playing all these characters, and you can see a ton of that footage on YouTube. So really, it does come from that of just like, okay, well now I can't be the one doing it, although sometimes you put on the mocap and do it when the opportunity arises. But it's just you try to explain to an actor what you're thinking without being too prescriptive with them and just telling them what to do.
Yeah.
And then hopefully sort of empowering them to add their ideas onto your ideas and make them better. So.
And we do have some examples of that we will get to as well. But I mean, talking about like that sort of creative freedom and collaboration, like how do you know like how much to, as a performance director, kind of work together with actors or whoever else, animators I guess as well, like where people can sort of submit their ideas and it become a collaborative process?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the rules I have is, if despite how this hour is probably going to go, is use as few words as you possibly can.
Okay.
So generally when you're directing, you want to keep it as brief as you can, especially if you're doing a bunch of shots in a row or a bunch of takes in a row. You don't want to spend 10 minutes explaining what you're thinking and stuff. You want to just come over and give a couple of quick notes and then allow them to move forward. And then generally, as far as like, pulling someone in and getting them to work well with you, the thing that I kind of do is I will try to get my animators what they've asked me for. So I will get very specific with the actor the first time, and then we can start to loosen up. So you get something in the can that is like, that's going to make the animator happy. It's exactly what they asked for. Now let's open it up. We still have some time, and let's start spitballing new ideas and kind of feeling out different ways we could possibly do stuff. So
do you kind of, in the first session, I guess, approach every performer kind of with the way that you would any performer, and then sort of refine that process as you get to know them and their process a bit more? Yeah, I mean, every actor I work with, everybody's different. Yeah. Right? So you can't just have like, there's no book that you can look to and go, okay, page 23 tells me this is how I should treat an actor. So that's why it's really important to get to know the actors as you're kind of working with them, and sort of understanding what their strengths and the weaknesses are and how they like to be talked to, and how much information they need. And trust that they've been cast for a good reason as well, right? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's show off a little bit of stuff that you worked on now. What should we do? Let's see. We've got. Could you talk maybe a little bit about this clip of? I don't know what the clip is. Of the lovely Neil, doing some various like little stances and stuff. So we, because we had a couple of sort of celebrity voices, and what we love to do is we generally love to record the voice and the body motion at the exact same time. Yes. It's really tricky when you're dealing with celebrity voices. Like J.K. Simmons has a limited availability, so you're trying to get everything, and it's really tricky to get the body and the voice to match. Because you don't want to keep going to J.K. Simmons like, okay, your hand wasn't on your hip correctly. It's like, let's try to get the voice. So we would record the voices. And then we did this thing which was kind of like the reverse of ADRing things, which we brought in different mocap actors to do the bodies for these characters. And
this was just sort of illustrating how we brought Neil in, and Neil did a couple of them for us, where he was doing a very specific physicality for Astarion.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see it when you just
can
look at the.
absolutely see it.
Like as soon as you like,
you know that's Astarion.
Yeah, even if you're just looking at the mocap, like with just a skeleton, like then there's no body or there's no ears or anything, you know who that is. And then when we did Minsk, he came in and we had to try to find another physicality for him and sort of understand. So Neil was really leaning into that heaviness and the weight. And then I think the last one is Gortash.
Oh yes,
and it's a very sort of this sort of congenial kind of person who does these very specific sort of politician hands.
It's the head tilt as well.
And it's this very, you want to love him. He's such a
you're being played is what's happening.
But he's so lovely to talk to, and it's like, but it's just that it's one actor who is able to hit 3 different characters. Yeah. And then still also nail the voice, like to nail the gesture that matches the cadence that the voice actor delivered. It's really tricky.
I suppose with this as well, it's kind of about when you say you don't want with celebrity actors. It's also, I guess, a question of expertise. Like a lot of them will never have done mocap before, so they don't, because it's a very specific skill, isn't it? Yeah, and it is hard sometimes when you have an amazing voice actor who is just not able to chew bubblegum and walk at the same time. Like they can deliver the lines, but they can't seem to be able to do the body. So it's a lot of stage actors really good at it. Yeah. Maggie has a stage background, I believe, as well.
Yes.
So nailed it.
But yeah, just the reason I brought this thing is that this is about letting the actor kind of do what they want to do, which was Maggie had this thing for Oren where she said to us in one of the shoots, she's like, listen, when I'm talking about my knives and my blades, I feel I want to like almost mime like I'm like my hands are itchy for them.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay? Can I do that? And I think Tom and I were in this session, and our immediate reaction was, "Are we? Yeah, well, I think we'll be okay with that. Like that's an amazing idea." And like it's not super called out, but it really just adds something to the character.
There's definite subtlety there. I think like there's something about that performance as well that's so feline, I guess, also just like the very sort of lithe movements that she brings, and just like because I remember speaking to was it Adie about just the character of Oren just being like, why use a word with multiple syllables? What was it? Why use disembowel when gut is so much more effective? And that comes across in the body language as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a well-written character.
Yeah.
And Maggie just nailed it. Like we had, I think, 3 days with her to record all the lines for Oren, and she rolled in. I think she had just flown in from LA, and the first day she was kind of jet lagged, but she was just a trooper and just tore through the character and did an amazing job. And all 3 of those days were just like amazing moments after amazing moments. And there was this one sequence she did where she finds out spoilers about like who her father is and that whole relationship of her background, and she starts getting upset and like she starts almost welling up with tears, and like we afterwards we were like, you made this sociopath like I felt bad for her, and it was just, you could just tell like that character was going to resonate with people.
Oh my
gosh, it was just going to be amazing. So
100%. So going back a little bit, what were some of the very first scenes that you worked on BT3? Sorry again. I'm like, get specific. Remember all the things from like years ago.
Yeah, I think early on it was a lot of like in the Act 1 stuff. There was stuff that we had sort of reworked over time because I joined after EA had been released.
Right.
So there were things that were sort of being earmarked to be kind of adjusted and fixed and stuff like that. So all of the things like Oren and Gortash and any of the celebrity type stuff that we kind of brought in, like J.K. Simmons, that was much later on. So this was sort of in the first group of stuff. You're gonna have to forgive me. I can't, for the life of me, remember. I have it's like it's such a dog's breakfast of shots that you're doing, because all the different cinematic artists are working in different areas, and the cinematic animators are putting in requests for all these different things. So we tend to jump kind of all over the place as things are signed off and like this is now ready to go.
Yeah, it is. It's like it's an ever moving process, and it is kind of like just spinning plates all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
However, I do know that you worked on some of the romance scenes.
Yes.
So can we talk about those a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so the romance scenes, what we were doing was because we knew we wanted to bring in intimacy coordinators because we were going to be dealing with a lot of stuff that could be difficult.
Yeah.
So we tried to sort of compress that into like a couple of days so that we could just sort of build up a relationship with the intimacy coordinator, with the actors we were using. And so it was 3 days of just romance scenes.
Oh my gosh.
And
how much of a runway is it to getting to the point of everyone going in the studio? Like, is there? I imagine there's a fair bit of talking and sort of planning that leads into that.
Yeah, I mean, the actors we used for recording the mocap for the romance, I had used a bunch of times before, so I had a really good relationship with them. The intimacy coordinator spoke to them individually, and to sort of find out, you know, where the guidelines are for them, what they feel comfortable with, what they don't feel comfortable with. We made sure to get them all of the scripts so they knew what was going to be coming up. We weren't going to sort of blindside them with anything because that never seems like a great idea. Like, you know, and also actors like to be prepared. They like to be able to think about this stuff. And then I think we spent the first morning kind of just in person chatting and getting to know each other and kind of talking. And then the intimacy coordinator, and then I have to have a relationship where I'm saying to him like, okay, this is the way I'm going to be directing, and he's like, well, when do you want me to come in? How do you want me to stay out of the volume, or are you okay if I come in and have these conversations and stuff? And then by the end, you know, he and I were sort of spitballing ideas off each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's as long as you're really careful about things and everybody is very upfront on what the plan is and stuff, it can be a really creative atmosphere,
absolutely.
right?
So what were some of your favorite ones to do? Like, are they, I imagine they're very kind of choreographed and planned out in advance. Are there storyboards for it, or are you kind of just like, you've got like a previs and you sort of work off that?
So it really depends on who the cinematic artist is who's working on it, because they each have their own strengths of like, oh, I'm going to draw this, or I'm going to animatic it, or I'm just going to block out things. But I think, yeah, like it is well thought out.
Yes.
You don't go into anything like that just kind of like,
just wing it,
like
just make it up.
It's, you know, old school, let's do it. So you have to kind of have all this figured out. Also, like the choreography can be really difficult. Like, so one of my favorite romance scenes is the Gale one. Yes. Right? Which was very difficult. It was a lot of reshoots. It was a lot of rework. The cinematic artist had a very specific vision that she wanted to hit. And I think it ended up, it was beautiful. But to capture all of the data for that, and it was a lot of work to sort of figure out how we can capture all that stuff. And then secondarily, we provide all that data to an animator, and then the animator has to work and massage and
the
change.
Cleanup is wild,
Then go in and just like some mocap is just, oh, things have changed, I'm just going to hand key that.
Yeah.
So they are just working so hard to get this to work. And then obviously, you know, outside of the mocap, the VFX work on there, the audio work, everything that, you know, the lighting, all this stuff comes together. And it just ended up being this scene that, even though I was involved at the beginning of it, like I was thrown when I saw it. I was like, wow, that turned out better than I had ever imagined. There's Slack channels we use, so things get posted and you see it like at a polished state, and you're like, it's gonna kill.
It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, because you want, like, I mean, you want to deliver on these characters for people. People invest so much time into these characters that you don't want to disappoint them. With that scene. So yeah, I think that's one where we definitely didn't. And for
every sort of scene that do you have to do multiple times for different stances as well? Because that's kind of what's being shown here. Is, you know, we've got obviously people of different heights kind of interacting, and obviously that takes a lot of work to get everything aligned as well.
So it's very tricky. Like we got this one to just show people kind of, because of all the heights, all those choices you make in Character Creator, we have to account for all this stuff. And then over time, we sort of refined how these things are going to work. So by the end, we had figured out a way to have like a character come in and then kneel down, and as long as their heads kind of line up, that when it gets retargeted onto the different species or onto the different races, it works really well.
Yeah.
Like, and we can get that to work. So there was one point, oh God, forgive me for this. There was one point where I had to reach out to the mocap actor, and I because we were trying to do the math to figure out how big of a platform that person had to be on. So I reached out to this mocap actor and I said, okay, I'm really sorry, but I need to know how tall you are when you're kneeling. And
normal questions for a normal job.
I was just like, please don't judge me. I'll explain. There's a whole explanation.
Get out the tape measure. We need to find out.
I was like, you go to your roommate, get your roommate to measure you when you're kneeling.
Snouts are another thing, I suppose, as well. Like with Dragonborn, you know, it's like there's a whole different thing to consider too.
Yeah, there's rules that we had to follow when we recorded stuff, but that
get on the phone. Yeah. How long is your face when you have a snout? Yeah. We have a couple more comments. Meg Bitsu says, also want to say thanks, say everyone at Larian did an incredible job on BG3. The storytelling and animation in the game is the main reason I decided to study game animation myself. Awesome. And met so many wonderful people, so thank you so much. Cinderella Mouse says, good thing Catherick nailed it, fab scenes. And Meg Bitsu also says, as a Galemancer, thank you very much for your service. Oh dear, you don't want to see the other comments. They're asking about the Withers romance animations and if they exist.
Oh God.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
However, we do have some more clips, some gorgeous clips of, not this one. We've got some of choreography, because it's not just about kissing and stuff. We've got some lovely scenes of Wyll dancing. Of this scene and how that was put together. That was in the volume, right?
Yeah, I think we actually did this as part of the romance week when we were shooting all that kind of stuff. And so we reached out to a choreographer named Faye, who was absolutely amazing, and we gave her very little context, and she kind of she had choreographed other sort of medieval kind of dances and stuff like that. So we had.
Had she done games before?
She had not done games.
Oh wow! So this
Mocap.
Was like this was wild for her.
Yes, this was a real learning experience for her, and she was so great.
I love this scene so much.
And and she choreographed this with Josh and Saskia, the mocap actors. I gave them. They had like a half an hour to sort of just come up with something.
Wow!
And they came to me with this whole idea, and she really leaned into, you know, Josh's ability and Saskia's ability to dance. Like, what are you guys good at? What are you willing to do? What is your experience? And they came up with something that was really beautiful. And then we made a couple of little minor adjustments. And then we recorded it. And yeah, they poured their heart and soul into it, and they had a lot of fun.
I think the thing that really, because this is genuinely one of my favorite scenes, and I think the reason it works so well is because it's so vulnerable and so human. Like, it's not perfectly polished dancing. It's just two people having a really lovely, intimate moment of connection, and I think like it totally comes across. Like it's not, you know, even when you're sort of you fail the role and you're just sort of flinging yourself around, it's still really, really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Saskia went down really hard one time when she did the falling. And she hit the ground. But she is a very talented stunt woman, so she knows how to fall. But those kind of things definitely get a jump out of, you know, everybody on the volume of like, oh my god,
yeah,
is she hurt?
Yeah. Well, any kind of like moments like that? Any anecdotes of fun behind the scenes stuff that you can tell us about?
I mean.
Again, it all blurs into one.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day because I had to. Some of the actors wanted some footage for their reels, and I was looking at a bunch of the romance sequences, and I had to tell them they can't have any of the romance sequences, not for any of the reasons that you would think, but because I'm out in the volume and I'm checking for markers and like blocking and stuff like this. it's quite honestly, I feel so creepy. There's like this dude just circling these people kissing, and it's
You're just like
and it's
stalking
me, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, I can't let that get out into public. That's just the worst. But it's like, I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to make sure that, the take is going to work and that everybody's going to be happy. But yeah, there's just this weird, creepy dude walking
like
around watching two people
intently.
kiss. Yeah, it's an incredibly horrible moment for my career. So.
Palm Souffle says, just wanted to say thank you for the wonderful work on Baldur's Gate 3. Y'all inspired me and reminded me why I love animating and took this path. I hope you got to celebrate the amazing things you did.
Oh, that's very kind. Like we did, but I have to say, every time someone tells me that they love the game, I think that the most important thing that I always lean into is that there's so many people that contribute to this. Like, it is so much effort. There's lighters and riggers and animators and artists and VFX artists and sound. It's just everything. Everybody poured their heart and soul into this to just make it as good as it can be. And I'm just so excited that I get to work with these people every day.
I know, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Is there anything kind of about, the process, especially now, like a few years on, when people are just like, so still enjoying so much, the process of sort of really digging into, the game and how it was made and all the processes for it. Is there anything that you think is often overlooked, in terms of the work that goes into it, and in terms of, I guess, what's been not celebrated as much as it should be, do you think?
The QA team.
Yeah.
I think, so if you've played through the game, you've played through the game once.
Yes.
They have played through the game so many times, looking for so much like obscure breakages, and just like they do their job so well to make it so that our stuff looks as polished as it possibly can be, by finding those little things and then letting us know so that we have time to fix it. They're just, they're the hardest working people in show business.
Absolutely.
They kill it.
What are, I guess, some of we've talked a little bit about, how rewarding the job is, but what about some of the challenges? What about some of the hardest parts of, really sort of, especially just when you were deep in the trenches of getting all these scenes done and polished and into the game?
Spreadsheets are the worst.
There are more spreadsheets than you'd think. Honestly, so many spreadsheets.
So much spreadsheet work to just try to keep us organized for like, where is this? How is this progressing? What's the timeline on these kind of things? There's a lot of effort into that kind of stuff that you yearn for animating. Yeah. Or directing on a volume. I guess that's do you find one of the hardest things about becoming a lead as well, is that you have to gravitate more towards the admin than actually getting your hands dirty with stuff as well. Yeah, but that's why I will stop in to sessions, or I'll swing by people's desks and take a look at it and stuff. But I found in my career that I do take a huge amount of pride and enjoyment out of helping others progress. So when they're running into problems, if there's some kind of blocking issue or something, getting them unstuck, whether that's getting them the assets they need or the support they need, I find that really enjoyable. And you can take joy in other people's successes of like, I didn't really touch that scene, but I helped them get that scene done, right? Like, I pulled things together. It's what being a lead is all about, right? Yeah. Building people up. Apparently there is a big QA celebration and appreciation going on in the chat, so we love to hear it. Yeah, amazing. Love to hear it. So we'll throw the floor open and we'll take some questions soon, but knowing that there are some people who are currently studying animation or thinking about getting into game animation in the chat right now, what are some of the biggest tips that you can give people, do you reckon? I've had a conversation about this with some people recently, and I have a formulated answer. There are the, no, we want to off the top of your head. The two biggest things that have helped me in my career are just trying to be as nice as you possibly can to people. Genuinely, that is one of the biggest ones. I think it's really important to love what you do and enjoy what you do, and make sure the people around you enjoy what they do. That's not to say I haven't had bad days where I've been angry, but you apologize as soon as you do those things, so that people know they can depend on you, they can trust you to do what you say you're going to do.
They can come to you when there's a problem, because there's always going to be days where things just don't work.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's not about scapegoating people. It's about supporting them and trying to help them to succeed. And then the only other thing is never miss an opportunity. Like anything that I've ever accomplished in my career is because when an opportunity arose, I jumped at it and was like, oh, I'll do that. I want to do that next thing. So don't hesitate on stuff.
I think that's one of the great things about, for me, working at Larian as well, is like that there's so often opportunities to try new things, and it's a great environment for that kind of thing. I reckon everyone I get on this sofa are always like, oh yeah, just decided to try something different one day and it worked, and we iterated on that again. It's really cool. The
studio is really good for embracing this idea of good answers and good ideas come from anywhere. Like there is no sort of, you need to stay in your lane because you're not a writer, so you can't propose ideas. Like feedback is a gift from people, right? So it is always open for people to make suggestions or ideas, or like, hey, I thought about this. Is this something we could possibly do? And I think that's really great. That's a really nice aspect of the studio.
Definitely. What excites you about the future of the industry? I mean, it's obviously animation alone has changed so much, and performance capture has changed so much. Is there anything you're seeing right now that you're like, that's the future, that's going to be really cool? Like, we need, in a few years, we're all going to be talking about this.
I'm very focused on sort of the character performance. So I've seen some amazing things with facial capture and just creating digital replicas of like just people looking amazing, like and actors' performance showing up through those characters. So I think it's only going to get more high fidelity, nicer. The lighting's going to get better. Things are going to be really, really beautiful. I think they're amazing now. I think it's only going to get better as we go. Do
you think gaming is kind of shaking off the stigma that it has had, or had with performers, actors, as kind of like, a secondary path after film and TV? I feel like a lot of actors maybe felt that way at one point, but now it's like, well, this is it, right? Like,
I think there is a lot of opportunity for actors right now. I was talking to an actress recently, and I was asking about her background and where she trained, and asking had she ever done any mocap, and she said, oh yeah, it's actually part of, they do a little bit of that as part of our training. Wow. Not a huge amount, but at least they're acknowledging that this is a career that we can embrace. It is an avenue for expression.
That's very, very cool.
That people can get into, which is a huge benefit for us, because then we don't have to,
teach someone how to do it
completely from scratch, right? They're at least comfortable with, okay, what's going to happen is you're going to put on the Lycra suit, and we're going to put markers on these spots and stuff, and we're happy to answer all those questions for them. But it's nice when somebody already knows kind of what the situation is.
I mean, in fairness, it must be so difficult coming from an environment where everything's right in front of you to somewhere where not only is nothing in front of you, but you're wearing this ridiculous thing, and you have to like T-pose, and you have to do all these things, and you have to like be very aware of everything that you're doing all the time.
It takes a special skill set to kind of pull that off.
Yeah.
And quite often, when we're scheduling things, we schedule in that intro first day where we know this is not going to go well. Like we're not going to be hitting the velocity we normally are on this kind of stuff. But that's totally fine, right? Because the worst thing you can possibly do is be like rushing an actor and be like, okay, we got to get this shot. They tighten up.
Yeah.
And
as anyone would.
The whole volume becomes just a nightmare space, and then nothing's going to get done. Everyone's going to be tense. It's going to be a horrible
and nothing's going to be usable at the end of it. Yeah.
You might as well take your time in this first session, lay down that groundwork, do a good relationship, and then things will go way better on the second and third and fourth.
Yes. Blue Rose EC says, Greg, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for any detail you worked on in Shadow Heart's romance scenes, as I am a professional Kiss animation spammer on her beautiful full shirt. Can you confirm nor deny that you worked on any of the Shadowheart romance scenes?
I'm pretty sure I must have. Like, we recorded a lot of romance sequences for coverage on everything across the board. But I mean, none of that happens without, Jen English and like the voice acting. And,
We love Jen.
yeah,
We love Jen.
she's such a sweetheart, absolutely amazing. And we had Eliona came in multiple times
Also love Aliona.
to record with us in the large animation volume, and every time we had anything that involved Shadowheart, Eliona was like, "Well,
I'll do it.
I'm playing Shadowheart for this," and it was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I get that." It's a team effort.
Absolutely. Match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So let's open up the floor for questions now. Then I love you, Greg. Amazing. So if you have questions, do send them in. But while we're waiting for that, are there any games that you've played recently that you're like, that's some good mocap, that's some good performance animation, that's some good animation right there?
Expedition
33.
33.
Jen English again.
Yeah.
Damn you for being so talented.
I just started playing it. I had a weekend where my wife and daughter had gone out of town to go see Billie Eilish, and so I had the place kind of to myself, and so I borrowed it from somebody so I could just play the beginning, and I kind of tore through it and was like, this is really great. So now it's on my list of like, okay, I need to find time to actually do a playthrough.
So worth it. I think I like rinsed it in like a week. I was just a weekend, maybe like a long weekend. I was just like, this is so good. The performances are amazing. The game is like, it was just very, well, it was kind of nostalgic, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very, well, it reminded me of Final Fantasy X.
It's just, it's a game that 100% knows what it is and just leans into that, right? And it's, it's beautiful.
A lot of those guys were former Ubisoft, right? I believe
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so, yeah.
PJ Amalia says, do you like pineapple on pizza? Very important questions here. Are you aware of Pineapple Gate? Are you aware of what happened here a couple weeks ago?
No, I'm not. Am I supposed to answer it before I know what the context is?
No, this is an innocent question stemming from an absolutely chaotic event that happened here, and you'll be surprised to know that it was Ross Stevens at the bottom of it all.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't dislike pizza, but I do not, or dislike pineapple, but I don't seek it out.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I won't be too offended, but I won't. It's not great. Not great. Megbet2 says, how much does having film TV experience help with game animation? Would it be something desirable or recommended for a new candidate?
So film TV experience definitely would come in handy for things like the cinematics. For the gameplay team, less so. But any skill set in animation definitely helps.
Okay.
Gameplay animation just tends to be very technical in the way that things are broken up and planned, so it's kind of like everything is these sort of little discrete pieces, so it ends up being not as fulfilling sometimes for film and TV animators that come and join the team. They tend to gravitate more towards cinematic stuff, where they can spend a little bit more time and figure out transitions between shots and things like that, and work with the cinematic artists who are kind of the directors of those scenes.
It must be kind of hard not to get bogged down with the technicalities sometimes, I guess, when you're like just trying to picture a scene and not think about, just like the puppetry of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there is some animation assets that we have to make can be seen, they're seen during gameplay, so they have to be viewable from every angle. So in a film, when I'm animating something, I only have to worry about that single camera, or maybe like a couple of degrees to either way if the cinematographer is like, oh, I'm going to shift this over. But for a lot of our stuff, it has to work from all angles, because someone can walk up from any degree, and that takes a lot of effort to make sure that it's readable from all these different positions.
That's lots and lots of cleanup on that, I guess. Hayne9 says, do the motion capture actors kiss when the characters kiss? It's a good question.
We leave that up to the actors to determine if they want to.
So they don't have to?
They don't have to. On BG3, they actually all kissed. Yeah, and there was a lot of chewing gum and mouthwash and we were very careful at lunches to find food that was not like
Yes.
heavily garlicked, so that we could just make it a enjoyable
A nice
situation.
experience for everyone. I imagine it's just easier to just kiss.
Yes.
Just kiss.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather
Well,
than just kind of hover.
yeah, and if you're hovering and now you're tilting your head, and the other
Then it's
person
just
now
a bit
moves their
weird.
head, and you don't move your head because you're trying to hover lip them,
Hover
it doesn't go well.
The evolution of hover hand, hover lip. Oh my god.
But that goes back to the idea of the actors feeling comfortable with each other, and like that, and sort of building up that relationship with
Yeah.
those two people so that they feel comfortable enough to like just go ahead and kiss.
I suppose if you're looking for specifically trained mocap actors, they may have worked together a lot before, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. There's definitely a lot of crossover when we, get people into the volume, and generally we would try to find people that had worked together, unless we needed a very specific skill set
Yeah.
that just didn't exist.
Chemistry is important, yeah. Burning with 23 says, with such a variety of races and classes in BG3, how did you approach directing performances so that each felt distinct and true to their identity while still fitting to the tone of the world? It's a really good question.
So that is way easier when you're dealing with a companion character because you know their backstory and you know everything associated with that. However, with the player, basically every animation has to work on every every race. So there was work where we'd go back in and we'd, after we'd retarget onto like a dwarf character, we'd go in and make adjustments so that the hand placement made sense. Sometimes there was camera trickery so that we could pull that off, so that like a human reaching something from up here, and now I've got a dwarf. Well, outside of camera, he or she might be floating a little bit to make sure that that kind of works.
Okay.
And then gameplay, I know, did spend a lot of effort into ensuring that the runs look different from a human versus a dwarf versus an elf, right? Because they wanted that choice that the player makes at the beginning to matter.
How much of that is the sort of making each race's run, for example, distinct? How much of that is comes from you as the performance director, or how much of it is kind of decided beforehand, or how much of it comes from the actor in the moment, kind of like experimenting and trying different things?
So so because I joined during EA, I was
you'd
not
already-
involved
yeah,
in
yeah,
that
sure.
in the recording of this stuff. But I think a lot of that comes from the animation director and the animation direction of like, I want them to feel like this. And then there was probably experimentation using the animators themselves.
Yeah.
Like because we have mocap volumes in most of the studios that we have animation teams. So they were able to record their own stuff and then kind of build things out. And then if the animation hit the fidelity that they wanted for that, they could just use that, or sometimes we would bring in an actor to record some stuff.
Are any of your animations in the game?
No.
There's none of you in the
I
game?
have given up wearing the suit.
Aww.
But you had Leah on
Yeah.
a while ago. So,
She's one of the skeletons.
so Leah's one of the skeletons. There was a point where that almost got cut.
Oh no.
And it was a very stressful couple of days.
Are you sticking to that rule of hanging up the suit?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll
I
see.
just find I can't direct myself.
Yeah.
Like I need to be, because you know how you're walking down the street and you think, you know what?
I look cool.
I'm pretty cool, right? And then you walk past like a big
You're like,
picture
"Oh,
window,
no, I'm
and
such
then
a
you
goober."
realize like your head is too forward, and like maybe that's just me, but I don't know. Like, and then you suddenly realize like it is hard to judge your own body position.
That's fair.
So I decided just to kind of push back.
We
from
get
that
someone
stuff.
else to direct you. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Lena says, what does the animation team need or seek from the concept art team? How close do they work together with concept art or other artists?
Ooh, I mean, there is that close back and forth with concept and design and like all of the designers of like, what do you need this creature to do? What is the focus, right? And then that plays into what is, how do we have to set up the rigs? What is the functionalities these things need? There hasn't in the past been a lot of back and forth with the combat moves with concept art.
Okay.
That is changing over time because I think concept artists are they're a skill set that we need to leverage for this kind of stuff, right? And most concept artists, as they're sort of planning out a character, they will paint up a couple of ideas of like attacks and things like that.
100%. And they really do think about the physiology of things as well. Sometimes you will see notes about how things move and why they move, and it can get like quite nature documentary, right? They're like, well, they do this because they're a water-based animal, and they do this, and it's really interesting to sort of like dive into that. Yeah. Wombat, do the suits stink? Not here, they don't.
So no, not here. We have multiple laundry facilities set up to do that kind of stuff, so that we clean them. We clean them after every session, and then
they smell lovely. They're very nice.
Have you worn one yet?
I haven't worn one yet. I've not been asked to wear one yet, but I mean, listen, for the game I'll do it. But no, they walk around all the time, and it's like that's not bad. Yeah. It looks fine.
I mean, at the end of a shoot, they're pretty sweaty, right? And I'll go up and I'll hug the actors after, because it's you try to celebrate the end of a shoot, right? So when you're done your list, you're like, okay, that's it for today. It's a shot,
Yay.
Shut it down, and then you give people hugs and
when you squeeze a wetsuit,
you do the I love you.
Oh, that's nice. Again, hover hand, like a hover lip. VJ Amalia says, how did COVID affect capturing the mocap? Was it more difficult getting things set up? Can imagine.
So like I said earlier, I was in Sweden.
Yeah, you were. At that time.
But we did actually do a couple of shoots where we were working remotely with a mocap studio, and that made it pretty difficult. Like they put a bunch of cameras up, but it's still really hard to sort of get a real sense.
Doing that stuff remote is super hard. I mean, it's like there's a level of removal that you just can't really get around, can you? Trevator says, which animated scene would you categorize as the hardest one to do in the game, and why? It's the Gale scene. Was the hardest to sort of plan out. We actually have a Karlak scene here, the Karlak date scene that you had a bit of behind the scenes for, right?
No, I didn't. I wasn't able to find the behind the scenes.
I have it.
Oh, do you?
Well, I have the date. If you can tell us, you can tell us about the date.
I just really like this because it's kind of an unexpected scene, and it was really nice to sort of set up this sequence, and I just love the way she comes across kind of shy and nervous.
That's true, actually. It's kind of like, it's almost like a different genre to a lot of the other scenes where it's like...
Yeah, because it was just such a lovely thing to do while we were doing all the romance scenes and all these sort of sex scenes, there was this kind of like first date thing that we were trying to do at the same time. One little interesting thing is that because we only had 2 mocap actors in, the mocap actor playing the player character is also the waiter. So we just had to record them in 2 separate takes.
Oh, wow.
And he does this amazing, when he brings the plates over, he just throws the plates
It's just like, there you go.
I don't think we'd asked him to do that, but he just did it in the moment, and we were like, it's amazing. It's so good.
It's amazing. I love this.
It just came across really, really well.
Again, though, it's all in like the these little sort of more intimate moments that they just sell the characters so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes to the writers and the cinematic artists, because they know how important it is to have these moments so that you understand these characters a little bit better, right? And that it's these kind of scenes that make you fall in love with them, right? That make you bring them with you every time you go out on a mission, right? Like, I want Karlak, in my team. Yeah, because she is like just this lovable person who might have horns and might have like a heart that is literally on, an engine on fire, but has the same hang-ups that we all do about going on a first date. Yeah. It's so fun. The Nugbear says, how much of the game's plot were you aware of? Was anything a surprise when the game released? Everything is a surprise.
But they didn't tell you anything.
Well,
there's just so much.
So there's so much, and there's so many. Oh, did we not? There's so many sequences that actually don't require a lot of like additional cinematic mocap captured, and a lot of it is just recorded in the booth. So it's those conversations. That there was always these moments where I would discover something of like, oh, I didn't. She's related to because
you don't get that context, right? Yeah.
And it's I mean, the game is just so big; it's so hard to get your head wrapped around everything. But it's also a bonus for me, so that when I get to discover these things, right? Like, it's no fun when you know the answer to everything.
Can it be a bit of a busman's holiday where you're trying to just enjoy it, but you're like, I remember that day, or like, oh, we could have just done that a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely.
VizKid Design says, how do you decide on the right take? What kind of reference do you collect? And what does the review process look like?
Yeah, so so in other studios, because I would be directing on scenes that I had recorded, I would make my own selects, and I would you call out like, okay, take number 3 is my A take, and then you would only clean up that take, because
kind of just based on vibes at that point as well, isn't it?
It really is, and the direction, like as you're in the moment and stuff. But you have to write these down, because sometimes these little tiny things that you think were so important at the shoot, like 3 days later when you're looking at the data, they're not important. Here, however, because we work with the cinematic artists who are like the directors for that, and the animators obviously also have their own feelings about which animation, I generally provide all of it to the animators, and just kind of like, unless it's a ruined take or broken take, or like, oh, there's something just really wrong, or like the arm is broken and it's not going to work, I will generally give them as many as I can and let them choose what they want to do, and that gives them ownership over the animation.
And at that point, is it possible to take bits of different ones, or is that more work than is really necessary? It
is more work, but sometimes it's absolutely necessary, right? And things are broken up in pieces anyway. If it's a really complicated scene, or involves really complicated prop work, or moving through an environment and stuff like that, we'll break it up anyway.
Slayer Seraph says, how did you tackle animating returning series characters like Minsk and Jahira, characters we only had our imagination before being isometric CRPG, bringing them to life and doing them justice?
So I'm going to be really clear with Jahira. Hey now.
Oh my.
Are they watching us, or are they watching this?
I
feel like I should be. Anyway, kids, let me talk about them. So Tracy, who plays Jahira, obviously she records all her VO in the booth, so she kind of establishes that when they recorded that. So she is definitely the owner of who that character is, and that character's movement and behavior, working with the performance directors at Pit Stop when we were working and getting all that stuff done. So then we just kind of try to match as best we can to what she was delivering when we have to do anything that is stunt related or in the larger volume. What was it? Minsk was the other one?
Yes.
Yeah. So so with Minsk, it was really driven by the voice.
She's Matt Mercer, right?
With Mrs. Matt Mercer. Mercer. And then because I had shown that stuff earlier, we had Neil do
yes,
the
of
body
course.
for Minsk.
Yeah.
And Neil really wanted to do it, and actually I think he had emailed me or something and was like, I want to do the body for Minsk. Like, what do I have to do to make this happen? So we talked about it, and we did some, he had done some tests and things like that, and we kind of talked about it, what it was going to look like and stuff. And yeah, he loved doing it.
Nailed
and had
it.
this sort of this big lovable character kind of thing going on there.
We love Minsk.
Yeah, but that was in the ADR type stuff that we were doing afterwards. So we would play the audio line in the volume, and they would hear it, and then we'd play it again, and they would act to it. And kind of try to nail that thing. So the one that, like, Matt Mercer was quite good. His lines made a lot of sense. J.K. Simmons, however, also really good. But J.K. Simmons is such a good actor that he is unpredictable.
Oh.
So he'll do like pauses where he'll say something and then start again, right? So for the actor, that was a nightmare, because they're trying to count in their head, because then he says something right afterwards, and it was really, really difficult. But like, it was so good because it was this unpredictable like line delivery that was happening, but it just made it really hard to try to match.
Again, though, incredible skills of mocap artists that you just don't even think about, right?
Yeah.
Like wild that you have to like count in your head and you have to deliver this performance that's perfectly in tune to a line that you're not even sort of familiar with at that point in time. It's wild. Yeah. We have time for maybe 2 more questions. Tobias says, what were some lessons learned from BG3 in terms of pipeline scaling, etc., that you will take with you for your next projects?
I can't talk about that at all. I'm so sorry.
That's fine.
But the only thing I can kind of guarantee you is that there were so many lessons learned on BG3 that we put a lot of effort into figuring out what didn't work, what did work, where do we want to go next. And that's what we're very focused on right now.
Okay, so slightly adapted from that is, what are you excited for next projects? What excites you about what's coming next in terms of like, the sort of production pipeline, the new tech, whatever it is?
We have some really cool production pipeline stuff, definitely, that is... I get really excited about because I'm a nerd.
Is it more spreadsheets?
I'm a nerd and it makes me not do spreadsheets. And the stuff I've seen, I'm really excited about what we're working on. And I can't.
No, that's it.
I can't. I don't want to get the call like when I get back to my desk of like, what did you say?
We're just so excited.
Yeah.
Nightcat Notabot says, how do you keep track of all the different raw files? Is there a specific system, or do people have their own organization / naming conventions?
Naming conventions are generally pretty tight
Yes.
to ensure that we know where everything is at all the times. Each team has their own special idiosyncrasies based on what their specific needs are.
There is a method to the madness
There
somewhere.
is. There is definitely, because otherwise it would be a nightmare. Yeah.
The Nugbear says, and this is the last question, I think it's a very valid one, is Halsin motion captured by a real bear or a real man?
I think so. So is the romance scene is what you're talking about, right?
Obviously,
yeah. So I think some of it is actually gameplay animation that was hand keyed, and then there might be a little bit of mocap that used, but it would have been retargeted and heavily reworked to get it to happen. The player character, like the receiving romance character, that was obviously mocapped.
Yes.
And I don't know. I can't remember if I had someone mime out what the bear was doing.
Oh, that's a really good question.
Or if somebody
just
repurposed
theater of the mind.
Yeah. There you go. Growl.
Grr, arg. Okay. On that note, we've overrun massively because we've just been having too much fun.
Sorry.
But thank you so much for chatting with us today and telling us
pleasure.
all of the secrets.
I'm gonna have no cocktail party stories after this. I've used them all.
No. We're bringing you back. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to come back and tell us more at some other point in time. Thank you so much.
I'll try to remember scenes that I worked on.
Yes, please do. Well, we have something to play us out that I know you'll all enjoy very much. But before we get to that, thank you so much. And you're on social media, right?
Not too heavily.
Okay, no worries. Well, okay. Instead, why don't you follow us, Larian Studios, on pretty much everything, unless you want to follow along with our streams. They're usually on Larian CFH. That's Larian Channel from Hell on YouTube. But you'll find us. Don't worry about it. You're all very good at finding things. I'm sure it'll be grand. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week, where I'm back playing a little bit more of BG3 on our Dark Urge run. I'm sure it will go exceedingly well, as I'm sure you saw last week. It went, there was no problems at all. Enjoy this video. I'm sure you will. Bye.
Clap your hands now, people, clap now. Clap your hands now, people, clap your hands. Clap your hands now, people, clap now. Clap your hands now, people, clap your hands. Clap your hands now, people, clap now. Clap your hands now, people, clap your hands. louder.